This episode of Dungeon Crawlers Radio is brought to you by Geek Girl Realty. Are you looking for that fortress of solitude or a cottage in the woods? Geek Girl Realty can help you out. Check them out at www.geekgirlrealty.com.
Dungeon Crawlers.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Dungeon Crawlers, where we're here with Drew from Wizards of the Coast to talk about the new box set of the Transformer trading card game, Transformers Siege, which, if you've been paying attention to the toy line that's out there, those have been coming out like crazy, and some of them are really awesome as they resemble the old Transformers from the Cybertron era.
Hey, how's it going? It's great to be on the show. It's good talking to you again. It's been a bit.
Yeah, it has been a little bit. And last time we had you on here, we were talking about the Combiner Wars.
Yep.
And then now we have Siege. So you guys are kind of making the round.
Yeah, we're cranking out the Transformers characters. The things are going pretty well. Siege just came out, so on June 28th. And that is our third booster release. We've released a bunch of decks products, and there's actually another one coming up soon. But this is our third booster release, and it's a little bit of an awesome new direction for us because it syncs up, as you noted, directly with the Generations toy line, War for Cybertron. So if you're a fan of Transformers, the War for Cybertron toy line, you're going to see all of those characters at some point in the Transformers TV.
Yeah, and the one thing that I found really interesting that you guys did this time around is not only do you get the large Transformer card, but you also get a smaller one, much like the card deck that you play with. Yep. One example, you get the larger like Soundwave, and then you get like Ravage and Laserbeak in that. So definitely really cool what you've done in this round of the game, and it's definitely unique. But what kind of rule set or utilities or things are you implementing into this round of the game?
So one of the new mechanics in this set are called Battle Masters, and they come straight from the toy line. Way back in the day, they used to be called Target Masters, and Battle Masters, or Target Masters if you prefer, from back in the day, they're characters who have a robot mode, but then they convert into a weapon that is picked up and wielded by another character. So in the trading card game, these are small character cards. You noted they're the same size as the battle cards that you play in your deck. And one side is a robot, and the other side is a weapon. So like Private Lionizer, his robot mode is sort of this lion-like character, and then he turns into a sword. And any of the other characters on your team can pick that up and fight with it. And that's one of the new big mechanics in the game. You mentioned Soundwave and his minions. Soundwave has probably been the single most requested character from the fans, and understood why. We just needed to get the small character cards introduced to the game so we could do his minions and make that feel, genuine to the toys. That is one of the big things that we're playing with in this set. And then we also introduced characters that can, instead of attacking, they can tap, which is turn sideways to activate a special ability. And that really adds a new layer of options into your turn. So now you can do a whole bunch of additional things, and what sequence you play them in, and which of those characters you include on your team really brings out a new set of deck building possibilities. I know you've been following the toy line. Were there any characters in the toy line that you were most excited about?
I got a Ultra Magnus one. I had one way back in the day when I was younger as a kid, and I thought it was super cool. Way back in third grade, took it to school for show and tell, and it got stolen.
Oh.
My parents were super mad at me and never bought me another one again. So I was super stoked to find one at the store, and I snagged it off the shelf. And so I have an Ultra Magnus again.
Ultra Magnus is one of those. That version of Ultra Magnus from Siege toy line is one of the super rares in this set. And he comes with, how Ultra Magnus has the armor. That he's characterized by, he always has this massive set of armor. It's called the Ultra Magnus armor or the Magnus armor, And so we also have that in the game too, as one of the an armor card that he can go fetch at the beginning of the game. So he always starts with his armor.
So the Ultra Magnus card is an ultra rare. Is that what you're saying?
It's a super rare in this set, yeah.
And well, wow. Then I'm super lucky because I went and bought like 3 packs from my local game store and got one. So sweet for me.
There you go. One of the things that's really cool about this set is we're seeing fans of the toys who are also fans of the TCG posing their toys with the character card from the TCG next to it. And the Siege toys are super posable. They've got a lot of points of articulation. And so there are people doing these cool little things where they're like, Starscream is holding his card up above his head like it's a boombox. It's really, really been gratifying to be able to work with the Transformers team at Hasbro so closely on this, because in addition to being able to include characters who are toys in Siege, the Siege storyline, we also were able to expand outside of the toy line and incorporate characters from Transformers past who didn't make it into the toy line, but now we can show them and their participation in Siege. And we got a lot of flexibility from Hasbro in doing that, and working with them was great. An example are way back in the day, and I'm talking way back in the day in Transformers Generation 1, there was a group of toys called the Firecons. And their toy gimmick was that when you rubbed a wheel on their back and got it spinning, they spit little sparks.
Yeah, I remember those.
Right? They were cool, but they were kind of clunky looking figures, and they haven't really been updated as a group. 1 or 2 of them have been updated, like redecos from other characters. But one of the things we did was, as an example, we took those Firecon characters from back in the day, and working with Transformers artists, in this case Marcello Materi, we worked with Hasbro and the artists to reimagine what those characters would look like in modern design set in the Siege universe. So those 3 characters are now part of the Siege game, the expansion, and we show them and their participation in the war for Cybertron as if they were modern toy design. And we did that for quite a number of characters in Siege. We've been calling it Siege, and I've been calling it Siege, and I'm just being a bad brand manager, because this is really called Siege 1. Siege is so big. The War for Cybertron Siege story is so big that we couldn't fit it all in one set. And we haven't really talked about it, but there will be a Siege 2 in the future that carries the storyline to its conclusion for the Siege portion of the War for Cybertron trilogy, and might talk about what that conclusion looks like and how it impacts the future of Transformers.
Yeah, I'd be totally up for that. It's definitely interesting. The look and the feel of the Siege, not only the toy line, but also the cards, have a very unique look on them. It's definitely very Gen 1, but in itself, it's also unique and different than what we've seen in the past.
It is. We definitely brought a new art style to these cards. The vast majority of the cards in Siege are all new art, including all of the battle cards and significant majority of the character art, and it carries across the War for Cybertron Siege aesthetic from the Transformers Generations line. And it was really fun working with artists and with Keyword Studios to figure out how to implement that look and feel and that visual aesthetic. Really, really brights, really darks, very high contrast battlefields. I really hope the fans are digging it.
Yeah, I do too. Now, the one question is, because it is Siege, are we going to see more of other characters and less duplicates? Like in the first run, I know there was several different runs of like Starscream and Megatron and Bumblebee and Optimus. Have those kind of been limited so that we have more cards of different Autobots and Decepticons, or is it just a little bit of the same where we have quite a few of those?
So we're always going to have the sort of main characters of the franchise, and especially as we're following, the inspiration of the toy line, those characters show up. But one of the things that is really core to us is bringing in a significant number of obscure characters, rare characters, or very interesting versions of characters whether they're main characters like Optimus Prime or Bumblebee, or more obscure characters. And that's one of the main reasons why War for Cybertron in the TCG, War for Cybertron Siege is broken into 2 sets. It was so that we could have enough room to really show the depth of the Siege universe that the TCG could embrace and bring to life.
Nice.
So yes, there is Prime, but like we get to the TCG is super interesting because we get to do really cool things with characters. Like taking Optimus Prime, he is a character in War for Cybertron Siege 1, but we were able to play around with how we depicted him. So his alt mode is a hover truck. So he's not a wheeled vehicle. He's a hover truck, and that is a third mode that the toy can convert into, but it's not one that's been popularized in the marketing for the toy very much. But we just took that and ran with it, and so we did gorgeous new art specifically of Optimus as a hover truck. That's the kind of thing that kind of quirkiness that we're able to embrace.
Yeah, no, that'd be really cool to see. Because I didn't even realize that he had that capability. I mean, it makes sense. If you watch the old Gen 1 cartoon, all the car vehicles are hovering. They're not. Most of them don't have wheels.
Right, because it's on Cybertron. They haven't been to Earth yet in the storyline, so they haven't been able to. Teletran, the supercomputer for the Autobot supercomputer, hasn't been able to scan Earth vehicles to disguise them as their alt modes. So they're sci-fi vehicle modes from back on Cybertron. Another good example of that is Starscream isn't an Earth-style fighter jet. He's a very, very sci-fi inspired space fighter. Just sort of like tetrahedral jet. And he and the other Seeker character, Decepticon Seekers, all share this body form. And that was that's something from the toy line. But that's, again, there's no Earth. They don't even know what Earth is. Well, most of them. So they've never been there.
Yeah. So with this new rule set, it being split up between 2 different sets. Now, where are we ultimately going to end with this set and then the second set? And the wrap up of the storyline. Are we going to be seeing, some larger character cards? We're going to be seeing some, faces from the past, like maybe Hot Rod, Rodimus. Well, probably not Rodimus.
It's a little early to start talking about Siege Part 2. That set will release in 2019. But the one thing I'll sort of give a sneak peek into it is this set is Siege 1 is sort of the early part of the war, or the early part of the end of the war. And Siege Part 2 is the conclusion of the war on Cybertron. And one side's going to win, and everybody better be braced for that.
Okay.
That's really all I'm going to say about that.
No problem. So this is, kind of an alternate reality, I guess, to say that it's not said and done like the cartoon Gen 1, where we know kind of the Decepticons won, the Autobots took off, and then ended up heading to Earth.
So it's a retelling of the origin story of Transformers, going back to the beginning of, the Autobots and Decepticons have been fighting for millions of years on Cybertron, right? And the war for Cybertron really is talking about the end of that war on Cybertron and how it concludes. So this is its own. I believe this is its own continuity that's separate from the others. That is a retelling of that entire story.
That's kind of exciting because you never know what could happen. It is the same story, but could turn out completely different because you're right. It's a retelling. You guys have plans, and it is kind of exciting to see, especially some of these other characters evolve and change differently, because there are some characters that, at least from my perspective, were always underplayed or were really cool characters but never had a mainstream role, and now maybe they will.
Right. That is something that not just we, the trading card game, are embracing, but Transformers Generations as a brand is embracing.
Nice.
And listening to the fans as to who their favorite characters are, who the characters that need a little bit more love, that's something that's really core to us.
Yeah. Out of that original cast or the cast of Transformers characters, just an example, what are some characters that you would love to see shown up more? Because they probably are, but who knows?
Sure. So I've got a lot of favorites. For Siege Part 1, one character that I was really excited that we were able to do was a character called Needle Nose. And he was a Decepticon jet, but he was really unusual in that he had a completely different jet body style. He didn't look like any of the other Decepticon jets. He looked nothing like Starscream or any of the other Gen 1 Seekers. Excuse me. And he was first released when the Target Masters, the characters that turn from weapons into robots, came out. So I was really hoping we would be able to update that character for Siege and include him in the set. Hasbro loved the idea, and we were able to do that. And it's really tough for me to answer this question about the future without giving away the future. But I can tell you, I really like the Titan characters, which are the really gigantic toys that turn into cities. And I'm really looking for ways that we can include more of them in the trading card game. We have just gotten Soundwave and his minions in War for Cybertron Siege 1. And in Siege, Soundwave turns into a spaceship. Most people probably remember him as a boombox, but remember, they've never been to Earth yet. So there's no boom boxes or mini cassette tapes for them to turn into. So they are spaceships in this one. And starting with San Diego Comic-Con next week, we have a convention product that is the G1 versions of. It's not part of the Siege line. It's a standalone 2 decks of Blaster and Soundwave in their original G1 forms. And so one of the things that I would love for the future, just saying, it's not like I have any influence over this whatsoever, is to include more of the mini cassette characters in their G1 forms in the game so that you can use them with Blaster and Soundwave.
Oh, that'd be really cool. In fact, one of the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives I'm super excited about next week is the Optimus Prime that's in a Ghostbuster motif, kind of like the Ecto-1 print paint job.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. My buddy Scott, that's on the show as well, he's super excited about the Ecto-1 mobile that transforms. So we're probably going to end up getting both of those.
Are you guys going to be at San Diego?
Yeah.
I will too. Drop by the Transformers booth and let's say hi.
All right, we'll do. Yeah, it's just it's a fun, awesome convention. But this card line is just amazing. It's a super fun game, and it's like we've said in the past, it calls back to that childhood for both young and old, and it's fun. It's really fun seeing those characters on the game table in front of you that you can pretend and manipulate that you're playing those guys again without having to look too super geeky with the toys out on the table. It's still,
hey, that's okay. If you want to do that, that is totally fine.
I know. But
it's really cool watching fans post about how the trading card game has helped them reignite their love of Transformers, especially fans who are our age and have youngsters, and are using the Transformers trading card game as this way to have a face-to-face experience where they get to share their love of Transformers with their kid and teach them how to play, and it's been really, really awesome watching that.
Yeah, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a Siege cartoon coming out that kind of coincides with all this too?
So Hasbro has announced that there will be a War for Cybertron animated show with Netflix, but further details haven't been.
That's going to be even more cool to have that show running and these cards out to play with.
Right?
Oh man, that's super exciting. I continue to rewatch my old Gen 1 cartoons over and over. But to see something new and hopefully, I'm hoping that Peter Cullen is the voice of Optimus.
Oh, Peter is. I mean, he originated that voice, and so it's perfect. It's flawless.
Yeah.
There are other voice actors who've done some really great takes on Optimus Prime and the other characters. Peter is amazing. It's one of the cool things about Transformers as is a brand that is 35 years old, and we're celebrating our 35th anniversary this year. Is that there are so many different reimaginings and expressions of the Transformers story and the characters. I think that there are some really amazing ways that the characters have been reinvented, and sometimes voice actors get to take get to give those reimaginings a unique take on the character. So it's been super exciting to watch Transformers evolve, and we've been looking at it in the house here, going back to those 35 years, because we dig deep into the history to pull characters for the trading card game, and watch some of the weirder places that Transformers has gone, like those fire cons who can spark out stuff from their mouths like dragons. That such an established franchise has so many interesting corners that you can go poking around.
No, I agree. So this set is going to be out for how long before we'll see the second set? So is it later this year that we'll see part 2, or is it going to be next year?
Yep. So Seige just came out on June 28th, and Seige 2 will be releasing late this year.
Okay.
And in between that, we've got the Blaster versus Soundwave box set that'll be out in stores there's a version that has the Generations, the more modern design of the characters. That'll be out on September 20th. And we may have some yet unannounced stuff between now and then. But the next big project is Seed Part 2.
Nice. Okay. Well, with this set out, I'm super excited because it's going to set up for some really cool stuff. I'm even more excited to find out that I have a super ultra rare card that I luckily got out of only 3 packs.
The force was with you there.
I'm excited to see what other cards show up in this set. Just because we're back on Cybertron, there's a lot of different characters that could be showing up. And with this retelling of the storyline, who knows who could be showing up and how their appearance may be different than what we're used to. Even an example like Ironhide, his Cybertronian mode seems a lot cooler than his Earth mode with the old red Astro Van.
Yep, and his Cybertronian mode has that giant multiple rocket launcher that he wields. He's super tough. He's one tough cookie in this version of the storyline. Yeah,
and I'm excited about like Sideswipe, Prowl, and those other characters. I know in the original cartoon we didn't really see RC until the movie, but just looking at the Bumblebee movie, they show that she was present there at the on Cybertron as well. So it'd be great to see her and those characters as well.
Yep, RC's definitely in the set, and another one another character that we're really happy to be able to include in Siege 1 is Alita 1.
Nice.
Who, in her Cybertronian car mode, which is super exciting. The Bumblebee movie has a different continuity than Cybertron, and that was a super exciting movie. Those scenes on Cybertron were very cool. This TCG follows more the toy line continuity.
Good. Toy line's been awesome. Even though it's separate from the movie was fun to see. It definitely harkened more back to my childhood than the other ones that Michael Bay produced. But
yeah, I had an absolute blast. Seeing the Bumblebee for the first time, I had an absolute blast. That was an amazing film.
Yeah, I mean, the 80s music was perfect. Him as a Volkswagen Bug, I love Camaros, but him as a Volkswagen Bug was just great and fantastic. And it was so exciting to see the characters I loved in as close to a Gen 1 version as they could get on a movie screen. And just seeing Soundwave hit the button on the side and Ravage jumping out, oh man, I was giddy.
So was I. So was I. I thought the storyline was great. I loved Haley Atwell. I loved the way the plot developed. I thought the new characters that they brought in were really exciting designs. Triple changers were super cool to see on screen. It was great.
Yeah. So we've got the toy line coming up. That's already coming out bit by bit, which I wish it was coming out faster, but that's okay. If I remember right, on the shelves we have the new Optimus that has his super flight armor, I guess is the best way to call it. Looks a lot like the version from Armada.
Oh, are you talking about the Studio Series version?
Is it a Studio? I thought it was the Siege one.
So there's the Galaxy class and then there's the Studio Series is the one that has the movie Jetfire who turns.
No, it's not that one. I just saw it at the store the other day, and so it looks more like a fire truck almost.
I know what you're talking about. Yes, that is an extremely exciting figure. I actually got to see that one in person at Toy Fair earlier this year when John Warden, who's the lead designer for Transformers toys, was demoing the new toy line. It is hot. Wow.
Yeah, it's just really cool to see these toys coming out. They look super realistic. I still love my '84 Optimus and Starscream and Bumblebee and that. But these ones look so much like the cartoon and like what we see now than when we were kids, which just really increases the imagination and is a lot of fun to see these characters.
Yeah, it sure is. That Optimus Prime. I mean, if we were the one you're talking about, it's the one whose trailer has the two giant cannons, right?
Yeah.
And if we ever did that in the toy line, in the character card, that would be one heck of a powerful Prime.
I don't know how you do it, but I'm sure you guys would figure a way out to do it. So,
I think we're up to the task.
Yeah. So, all right. We've got this set out. Next set's coming. You guys can run it. Listeners, can run out, pick up your cards. It's a quick, easy game to pick up, which is the best thing about this is you don't need advanced rules. I mean, that's one thing. I know as popular as Magic is, you kind of need to take some time to figure out the rules and how to play it. And you got this rule set and that rule set and these cards that aren't good and these cards you can't play and so on and so forth. This game, you can just crack it open and go.
Yep, we spent an enormous effort making the game system really simple to learn and putting a lot of the depth and complexity in how the cards interact with one another and what cards you choose to put in your deck or on your team. The game system itself is extremely accessible. You could probably pick it up in 10, 15 minutes, no tops.
Nice. All right. Well, folks, with that said, go out, get your copies of this game. If you're a huge Transformers fan, it is a must for you. I'm saying that because I am a huge Transformers fan, and it is a must for me because I love it. If you're not a huge Transformers fan, but you have enjoyed the movies or a comic book here or there, or even the cartoon, check this card game out because it is lots of fun. And if you're just a card game fan, just pick it up. It's really fun and easy to play for you and some friends or even you and your kids. Again, Drew, thanks for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure. It's always awesome.
Dan, it's been a pleasure to be on the show again. I look forward to seeing you at San Diego Comic-Con.
So with that said, we're out of here.
Bye, everybody.
Dungeon Crawlers.